I'm going to stop this guys.
Just make sure there's nobody downstairs.
I'll go on. So if you do need me, I'll be on Sandbox.
Yes, you're probably setting up the feed, aren't you?
Yeah.
How do I get the link?
Oh, it'll be on Twitter. There you go.
Oh, okay. Hi.
So it'll be on the Twitter as well. Reload the Twitter. Just reload
Is that
it.
okay? Alright, cool. Thanks.
And there you go. It's right here. There's already the videos. So you just click here, so you can share the tweet, or you can either watch it on YouTube or Twitter.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, everyone. So this is very typical. All right, let's try it again. All right, so welcome back, everyone. So I'm delighted to welcome you back. This is the second time we're running TeensInAI Hackathon here in London for teenagers only. So I am very grateful to Onfido for hosting us. Let me maybe mute myself. So I can hear myself. Excellent. All right, this is much better. So very grateful to Onfido for hosting this hackathon for 2 days. Super grateful to Mary and to Tanya for leading design thinking and all the judges that have come. And obviously a very special thank you to Matt for joining us from Washington. I kept telling you all that he's from New York, but he's actually from Washington. Okay, so before we kick off the demo, so you do have time to breathe and remember your power poses, right? So make sure you do your power poses and you breathe before you come in if you feel nervous. But teenagers never feel nervous, so this advice is usually for adults normally. So I know you will all be absolutely amazing. So before we kick off the demo, so I've asked Matt to just give us the last bit of inspiration and buzz. Okay, this one is going off as well. So Matt, because you're used to doing this, if this goes off again, just project your voice, as I know you will.
I'll yell really loud.
Just yell. Yes, you're American, you're natural at that.
Which one's loud?
Be loud. Yeah, amazing. All right, let's do this. So Matt first, and then I know you already know the order. So we will run everything from my laptop. You won't have a chance to present from your laptops because it's complicated. So we will run the demos from my laptop, but if you want to show the technical demos, the judges are here and you will be able to show them, all right? So Matt, over to you. I will run through the criteria anyway for the judges, and each judge will have a chance to introduce themselves. But before we do this, we always have an inspiring keynote, and this time it's Matt. Yay? Yay!
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I loved what you're saying about power poses, because as I was getting ready for my talk today, I was thinking about, like, what do I say and what do you all want to hear? And, you know, I have nerves all the time going into stuff like this, and those power poses are really helpful for me. Maybe we could start out for a second by just doing, does everyone know what their power pose is? So maybe it's on like a count of, on 3. I'll do like 1, 2, 3, and then move to the power pose. Okay? Is everyone ready? Yeah, everyone has to get up for that. All right. I don't know what my power pose is, but I guess we'll find out. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait, we'll do it again because I didn't feel the power in those power poses. All right. 1, 2, 3. Power pose. And actually, let's do it one more time, but on 3, when you do your power pose, I want you to say power. All right? 1, 2, 3. Power! Okay, that was pretty good. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Clap for yourselves. I saw a lot of power in the room, and one reason I really love that that idea of the power pose is that I really believe, in my role as the global community manager for NASA's International SpaceApps Challenge, but also as a social impact storyteller, I get to meet a lot of people like you who some people might look at you and see normal, everyday people, and really you all have a superpower. And we're about to hear from you with your superpowers when you do your demos and share your work. I really believe that every single person has that real world superpower. And so you might not be able to fly or read minds or be invisible or whatever you would want your superpower to be. But you can be part of something like SpaceApps and create something that, maybe you didn't imagine you could do. And maybe it feels superhuman by the end of 24 to 36 hours in doing it. And so again, just to introduce myself, I'm Matt Scott, Global Community Manager for the SpaceApps Challenge, which is now in its 8th year. In its first year, there were 25 events for SpaceApps, and it was in about 25 events for SpaceApps all over the world. Now, I'm excited to share that in 2019, this is actually our biggest SpaceApps event yet. We have more than 28,000 participants worldwide, which blows my mind. And they're in more than 200 events in about 80 countries or so. And so I'm thankful to be here out of all of the events all over the world, because this is really a special one, a unique one, and one I relate to. And just, again, back to that idea of nerves, I wanted to ask, who here has felt nervous in this SpaceApps process? I know I have, so yeah. Some of you are calm, cool, and collected. I see you right there. You look really like I got this. So we'll see in the presentation period. But I say that to say that when I first started on SpaceApps in 2016, my very first SpaceApps, I was hired at the company I work for. I don't work directly for NASA. I work for a company called Second Muse, which has partnered with NASA on SpaceApps since the very beginning of SpaceApps. And I started, and 10 days in was a SpaceApps event. And I was asked on my first day to create a communication strategy for SpaceApps, because my specialty at the time was social media. So I figured, okay, great. I know what I'm doing. Great. Did that. And I found out soon after that I'd have the opportunity to go to a SpaceApps event. So I know I'm going to Hackathon. I've been to Hackathons before, and what I expected in attending this Hackathon was kind of a lot of the same. It wasn't see a bunch of teens when I went to my first Hackathon in 2016, SpaceApps NYC. I expected to see a lot of coders and developers and experts there who are laser focused on what they're doing. And I ended up meeting a really diverse group of people with a bunch of different skills. And I think that speaks to a lot of what SpaceApps is about. We're not about expertise. We're not about creating perfect solutions and innovations and making tons of money off of them, but we're about bringing together not just the engineers and scientists and coders and experts, but also the students, the storytellers, the artists, the beginners who want to engage with NASA and with NASA's open data and with hackathons overall. And so I know I'm asking you to get up and raise your hands a lot, but for those who are here, like, how many of you have been part of hackathons? Maybe this group's a little bit different. Okay. And for how many of you is this your first hackathon? Oh my gosh, a lot of you. Yeah. So the big thing I want to share is that when I did my first SpaceApps and was part of my first SpaceApps hackathon, just over that one weekend, I was exhausted. I was meeting people and sharing their stories and putting it on social media. And now it's crazy because that was one weekend. And this year for SpaceApps, talking about growth and progression, I've spent a lot longer, probably about the last 8 months or so, really focused on this and working toward building up the global event to what it is with the growth that we've seen this year. But something I wanted to share, going back to the point about not really knowing what to expect at SpaceApps, there's one person in particular who comes to mind for my first SpaceApps that reminds me of a lot of you and reminded me a lot of myself. And her name is Laura Doyle. And when I walked into this hackathon, again, I'm expecting, frankly, to see a lot of older white guys who are coders and developers engaging with NASA's data and working at the hackathon. And what I ended up seeing, again, was a really diverse group, but in particular, I was kind of thrown off when I walked in and saw an 8-year-old girl sitting there among like, all of these adults who looked like they were experts and knew what they were doing. And the event had a childcare area, so I figured, oh, maybe she's going to go to the childcare area and, whoever she's here with will work on their project. And by the end of the hackathon weekend, I ended up learning that not only was she a participant, but when the demos were done and the awards were given out, she won not only the People's Choice Award, but the Best Use of Hardware Award for her solution, ISI, which stands for International Space Station Interesting Exercise. And so you never really know what to expect. The fact that I could go to this hackathon and the youngest person there walks away with 2 awards. Not only that year, she came back the next year and won 2 more awards and is still developing ISI as, I guess, if the math adds up, probably about 12-year-old who's still balancing all of her schoolwork with actually having like this very real organization that's gaining traction. And so I say that because for me, seeing Laura there reminded me a lot of myself. I've often, probably like a lot of you, been the youngest to walk into a room, whether that's a group of older teens, or even for some of the adults, whether that's like you're the one woman in the room or the youngest in the room or the one of whatever in the room. And I realized in seeing Laura and seeing how she could just go and command the room and win all these awards at hackathons, like could barely even walk away carrying them all, that regardless of how comfortable we feel, regardless of how much we feel like we fit in, we're still able to push through and succeed and shine. And one of the biggest points that I want to get across to all of you, again, not just the teens, but everyone in the room, is that when you walk into a room and you're the only one, it might feel intimidating. It might feel like you don't belong. But the message I want to get across is that being the only one of whoever you are, whatever you bring to the table, makes you special. And that means you have something unique to contribute that no one else has to contribute. And so when we're doing SpaceApps, the teams that succeed most are the teams that bring in that diversity, that bring in those unique perspectives, that bring in those unique skills. And I want you to keep that in mind, because I'm sure that we'll see that come to life when we see all of the demos up in front of us. And it looks like we're going to have a lot of different perspectives. I saw some of you practicing a little bit earlier, and so I'm really excited for what we're about to see. But the other point I want to make, other than just embracing your identity and what you bring to the table, is to also remember that it's not easy at times. Like a lot of you, especially the ones who are first timers at a hackathon, probably felt like, like you didn't know what you're doing at certain points. You probably felt like this was difficult, especially being surrounded by some of the folks who have more experience. But I want you to remember that when you have that resilience and when you have that persistence, that's really what's going to get you through. I'm so proud of all of you, because clearly none of you have given up and you've persisted and you've continued to push and to develop what you've developed. And really that's the key of not only creating a successful space app solution, but creating anything that you're trying to create that's successful. I mean, something that just happened a couple of days ago, we had the first all-women spacewalk at NASA, and the first woman who did a spacewalk was 35 years ago, just to give you an idea of how much time has passed. And if it wasn't for the persistence of all of those women as astronauts, we would have never seen the day. And we also would have never seen the day if they didn't take the time to persist and make these different spacesuits and these mini ships that could fit them and accommodate them and so on and so forth. And so persistence is key. I like to call it stick-to-itiveness is key. And I hope that you're all really sticking to it as you go along. The last point I'll make, looking back to Laura and also looking at all of you, is that the work that you're doing is a powerful example for a lot of other people. So again, I promise this is the last time I'll make you raise your hands, but by a show of hands, and this is not just for the teens, but for the adults and mentors in the room, how many of you this weekend have been in inspired or informed or pushed forward by someone you met? Yeah, and I want you to really look around the room to take that in. How many of you know that you've inspired someone? Like, did anyone tell you that? Yeah. See, the funny thing is, so many of you raised your hands for that you've been inspired, and so many of you didn't raise your hands that you've inspired someone. There were a couple in the room, and that's good. But I think that I make that point to say we don't know the impact that we're having on people. Your example and the work you're doing is actually pushing people forward, and maybe you look at your solution at SpaceApps and see this is the impact I'm having. But actually, you're inspiring your friends, you're inspiring your family members, you're inspiring strangers, and I just want you to take in the fact that someone in this room was probably inspired by you. Actually, someone in this room was definitely inspired by you, because I'm inspired by the fact that you're here and doing this. I wasn't doing anything this cool as a teenager, and I'm still not doing anything as cool as what you're doing. So that's where I'll leave you with. I'm excited to see your solutions, but if there's like one last point, it's just know that you're here, you're making a difference, and I really hope that you're able to see it. And in the spirit of the SpaceApps 2019 theme, see, nerves, explore near and far, and good luck with your presentations. Thank you.
Okay, so that was amazing. So next up, I would like to hear from the judges and just really ask you to introduce yourselves and let us know who you are and what you're looking for, okay? And I'm going to start from Gillian because Matt needs a glass of water. He's nervous. So Gillian, who you are, and what are you looking for today from all the pictures?
Hi everyone, my name is Gillian Lamella. I work at Barclays, and what I'm looking for today is really what I want to see is a good amount of teamwork, good communications around the pitches today, and something really innovative that is going to have a big impact to society, if we can.
Hi, I'm Claudia Menzel. I'm from Seraphim Space Camp. We're accelerators supporting space tech startups, so I'm actually hoping to maybe find one of my next space campers today.
Tanya, get up because I know they all know you.
Sure.
Everyone can see you.
Yes. So I'm Tanya Ahmed, and I'm an experienced designer from Quantum Black, which is an analytics company. So we do a lot of AI work, and I'm looking forward to seeing creativity and also teams having fun as well. So coming up with solutions together, and so looking at creativity and diversity.
So I'm Mary, and I'm a delivery person. And what I'm most looking forward to is a group which has looked at the bigger picture as opposed to just following through on a solution to a problem.
Hi, my name is Mohan, and I run the research here for Onfido. Welcome to everyone here. What I'm looking for is, again, creativity, teamwork, and authenticity. That is, really who you are.
And I'm Matt Scott, and Global Community Manager for SpaceApps. And I'm looking for, really as a storyteller, the presentation aspects, like how you communicate your ideas is so key. And so I'm excited to see all of that.
All right, and as always, we will have a couple of judges who are technical judges, and I'm going to nominate my technical judges. So they will be Gillian from Barclays, because I know your hands have been itching and you were helping, and I know you're familiar with what the teams have been doing, so I would really like you to grill them technically. And Mohan from Onfido, okay? So technicality. And then obviously human-centered design, Tanya and Mary, because you were teaching human-centered design. So see whether they actually, now you will know whether they really got it and they were doing what you were teaching them, empathy and whatnot. And then we have two, impact, creativity. I mean, everyone is looking at innovation, but so Claudia and Matt, more on impact. So think of the questions you might want to ask, and also maybe route to market, because we have a marketeer in here as well. So guys, keep an eye on this marketing questions. Okay, fantastic. So I am going to remind you what the judging criteria. Also the judging criteria: impact, So how much impact are you creating? So we're looking for something quite impactful. Creativity, so innovation and creativity is key. Validity, is the solution scientifically valid? Will it do what it sets out to do? Relevance, is this project responsive to the challenge for which it was submitted? And presentation skills, obviously. And I'm going to add to this teamwork because I really want you to know that you will be judged by how you engage and what how you are on the stage, and the judges will know whether the team has got that dynamic and whether you work together. All right. So are you all ready? Because I am. I'm really buzzing with excitement. Okay, so this is all going to run from my laptop. So I hope you all know your orders. So the first one is PredictEco Earth. So you guys can come over and I will find your slides. So first ones is always a bit of a nervous one. So, but I know you will nail this one. So we have 2 microphones, all right, and you sit in the microphone as if you are eating your ice cream, yeah, whippy ice cream. So imagine you're eating your ice cream. So hold it like that, otherwise we won't hear you. All right, you've practiced your power poses. I know you will do incredibly well, and you've all pitched before, yes. So I'm going to give you 2 microphones. So remember, you will have 3 minutes to pitch, and before I announce the 3 minutes to pitch, I'm going to ask for Florian, if you are here, to come and be my timekeeper, because you always do this for me. So we have somebody from Google who comes to every single hack, and he's the most phenomenal mentor we have. And his job at every hackathon is to help us with timekeeping in addition to all the incredible mentorship. So this doesn't seem to be as loud as... So if this doesn't work too well, just project your voice. Yeah? Hello? Yeah. So do you want to sit a bit closer, Florian? We'll have a special chair for you. Yeah? So everyone, keep an eye on what Florian tells you. He says 1 minute, you literally have 1 minute to pitch, okay? And then you will have 2 minutes from the judges' Q&A. Alright? Right. Ready?
We are PredictEco Earth. I am William, the design and graphic designer and user experience. This is Artemis, the researcher and developer. That's Stephanie, our developer, and this is Ahana, our project manager and marketing.
So, what is the problem we are tackling? We are tackling the problem that environmental groups need an independent and reliable view on the current greenhouse gas situation. How do we know that this is a problem? Currently, the current climate change models used to model greenhouse gas emissions are very unreliable. They do not take into account modern factors. For example, the changes in cycling and the awareness of the people towards the issue. We present our solution, PredictEco Earth.
So what does PredictEco do? PredictEco will create a flexible line of best fit based on past data from several sources, depending on what you're measuring. So for example, in the demo you'll see later, we use electric cars and how that's changed the carbon emissions from transport. So it takes past measures and using graphs and very complex polynomial functions. It will generate it will predict how much of an effect something will have. This is because we feel that we need to know what impact we are having when we do things. What can we do as single people to help? Because obviously climate change is catching up on us and we really need to do things. So it's good to know the impact that we're having.
This is our app. First you go on to add a new scenario. So you would go and then choose your scenario type. For this instance, we have chosen electric cars. Then you'll choose your pollutant. We've chosen CO2. Then you choose your time. We've chosen 10 years. Then you press generate and your chart will come up and show the result. So here we have the CO2 has dropped from 15.4 to 14.7.
And this is a quick run through of a demo. This is a very short video. So when it loads, this is going great. So when it loads, you'll see that it asks how many cars, for example. So this is using electric cars. And I type in 123, and it returns that my carbon levels have decreased by 1.3%. Obviously, this is a demo, so the data that comes out is using a very small amount of data. But in the real model, this would use a very large data set. It would return a precise value, and you could easily see the effect that you would have.
So who's our target audience? We'd be targeting environmental groups such as Greenpeace and WWF, and electric car companies such as Tesla, Porsche, and BMW. We'd also be targeting bicycle companies such as Yeti Cycles and Trek, and large environmental startups such as OceanX. So who's our competition? Our competition are conventional climate models made by scientists to predict the direction that climate change will take. While these are free and widely available, ours is more flexible and interactive and gives an accurate prediction that only AI can make.
So how could we,
So how would we make money? We would have a freemium. So we would have a free version with ads and a premium version where you would be able to enter scenarios and it would be without ads.
So our next step is to build relationships with potential partners and sponsors, more data onboarding for greater accuracy of prediction, and building a better user interface to make the application easier and more pleasant to use. This is our time for questions.
Fantastic. Questions for the judges. Who has got the first question to ask? Yeah?
So you're currently looking at how electric cars could have an impact. Do you see other environmental solutions being able to be used with your app?
100%. When we were planning it, we went through several different possibilities. We went for the data that we could find most accessibly in the limited amount of time we had. But one of the plans is that if a company did like the premium version would be we would make a model that would suit them. So for bicycle companies, it would be how many cyclists, or for environmental agencies, buildings and what impact that would have. It could really run with anything. So yeah.
More questions?
This is not a technical one, but just can you walk us through your thought process in putting this together, how you divide your teams, etc., with the time constraints given?
So our first step, really, with lots of help from mentors, was what we really wanted to do. So we went through the challenges, and we decided that we were really passionate about climate change. We really want to do something about an issue that is so relevant in today's society. So we went through all of them, and we found that the Warmer Planet Cool Ideas was the best one. We then went through what we could do, using AI especially, and we felt that a predictor would really help environmental organizations, the public, really know, what impact are we having? Because often we are told the negatives, but we're never really told what impact we are having. So for that, we decided that, we had to predict. We had to make an AI that could do this. And then we just went from there, really. I helped develop. Artemis really helped me with databases and research. William, amazing with our graphic design. And Ahana with our marketing strategy. And we just kind of split off from there.
So you've talked us through who you're targeting, right? And what they're putting into the app and what information they're getting out of. But what are you foreseeing exactly as the next step that they're going to do with that information? What's the goal of your tool?
So we would be for example, environmental groups, they are telling everyone that they want people to cycle more and walk more and not use cars or use electric cars. So we would be giving them the data to back what they're saying, so that they could go to their members and be showing them our data so that more people would join them.
Okay, perfect. All right. All right, so next up is Astra Tours.
Thank you. So Astra Tours, you guys are next. So I am going to remind and reiterate, it's a 3-minute pitch only. Let's try this again. All right. So you've got the second microphone, so grab that one. So this is a slightly bigger team, 5 of you. You ready?
So the challenge that we chose is the Trans-Neptunian Spaceway. In 2045, we believe that advanced space travel may be possible, and we believe that our company, Astra Tours, would be successful in creating an opportunity for customers to explore planets beyond our knowledge and understanding. We also believe that our tours would give both scientists and tourists the opportunity to develop a deeper understanding of the areas beyond our solar system.
So the problem is that travelers do not have enough information when they're booking tours to different planets and areas.
So our solution, we have created an app and a website that allows people to book tours to different planets that go beyond Neptune. For example, you can click on Pluto and you will find out more information about Pluto and the key facts that allow users to have a more detailed view of Pluto.
I don't know if the video is working, but basically, it's a prototype that walks you. So what happens in the video is that you log in, and you'll have a homepage with the tours that you can take. So, for example, we've chosen Eris to focus on, which is one of the dwarf planets. And on the page, you'd have a lot of information on the planet itself. And once you'd read through it and seen different activities that were available, so like climbing ice mountains or going across glaciers and so on and so forth, you'd then be able to book. You'd book the tour, and once you've done that, you can input how much you'd be willing to pay for it, and then you get a specific tour that would like cater to how much you've put in as your budget. And this is the example of like the final page that you'd see.
So this is my part. So the system architecture, we have the front end, so what the user uses. So that is the web application and mobile app. So you've already seen the demo. I personally did the back end stuff. So that's a database, a program that allows you to navigate the database. The link that is at the bottom. For those of you that don't have time to copy that out, that literally just you type in what hotel you want to choose, and then it gives you some details about that. So how much its current rating and price and that kind of thing. That will eventually, if we have time to develop it, include a recommendation system by an AI. So that will take data from other users and give you a recommendation for future trips.
It's okay, you can do it.
Do you want me to start? So the way we'd earn money would be that we'd be taking customers to SpaceX and Virgin Galactic. So they would give us a small fee for us giving customers to them who use their rockets.
So how we are different from our competitors. So we offer tailored bespoke packages that are customed, that are specific to the user based on the budget, how long their trip is, and what they're doing for their trip. And whilst the SpaceX and Virgin Galactic, they just do basic tours.
I'm Laura, I was project manager and researcher.
I'm Radhika, and I was in charge of front-end development for the website and app.
I'm Josh, I did the programming and research.
I'm Prue, and I was the graphic designer. And I'm Mariam, and I helped with the research and the prototype.
Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, is that okay? Yes, all teams that are relying on Drive, can you please offer me permission, okay, so that we don't have another pop-up like this. I need to have access to the Drive, and it's entitled to all the videos, all right? So I think there is another, I believe Dennis, where are you? Your team also has not given me access, it's a view only. You've given me edit, okay, perfect. Okay, let's just wait for Radical to show us the
Shall we start with some questions?
Yes, let's start with the questions, and also the judges would like to see the code. It's on GitHub. So Mohan, you can have a look, and Gillian, you can have a look as well.
Absolutely.
Or if somebody wants to show me the laptop. Also, your local laptop. Sorry.
You don't have a laptop?
Well, I do.
Go ahead. Should we? All right. Just to share, I know.
Let's start with the questions.
Okay. I know the team's getting set, so some of the team members are not back on stage. But so you mentioned setting up the website with all of the packages and offerings, but I'd love to know how you're going to reach out and get people to like view the website and get them. It might sound crazy, but get them interested in traveling to all of these planets.
I think if we can get a media coverage or I think that we can encourage more people to look at the website, maybe use data science to analyze like what people click on and make the advertisements so that people are more interested in looking and seeing what we offer.
Thanks. Can you talk about what components go into your AI in making the recommendations? What would you want? What information? What data?
I think we'd analyze what. I think when you log in, you would say what kind of age range you are, and we would use that. So people who are about 20, if they were interested into a certain trip, we would say people your age are also interested in these activities, and we would recommend that.
You guys referenced a login immediately when you go to the website. Are you forcing a login journey to capture data from the user, or are you also having anonymous journeys?
I think you can have anonymous. You can access the website anonymously, but I think if you want to have a safe book, if you want to book your trip safely, you have the option to do the login as well.
So in terms of understanding, what the market is and why people would visit the website, what would be your next steps going forward?
I think media coverage. I think people are interested in space exploration anyway, so it's just playing on that interest.
Can I follow on to her question, which is how would you find who you're going to market to?
Analyze data, analyze which age groups are most interested in space. Maybe ask NASA for some data, or ask them what age range they find that are interested in space exploration.
Gillian, are you happy with the code?
Oh yes, I'm just looking at it.
Radhika, how is it going?
This will be answered directly there.
Okay, so you have to stop sharing on yours.
Can I try again?
Then you can share. Yeah, so just stop the sharing.
You have to press request.
I don't know.
You can press it the first time.
That will take it out.
Do you talk through it? I can talk through it.
So this was the prototype of the app, and then once you've logged in, you have the home page with different tours that you can do. So for our demo, we chose Aris, and you can see like different activities, and obviously there'd be more information. And then once you moved on to booking, you just input how much you're willing to pay, and then it's cut off. But on the next slide, it's more information and what you can do with that specific budget that you've chosen.
Okay, perfect. All right, well done, James. All right, so let's now introduce an incentive for 3 minutes pitch. So the team that nails a 3-minute pitch is going to get a special prize. All right, let's make it more. Otherwise, I can, yeah. All right, so please try and stick it to 3 minutes. Otherwise, we're going to be here for long, and then Onfido will never host us again. All right. Okay. So next up, Solar Sandbox. All right. Are you guys ready? I hope all your demos have been shared and all that. Okay. You've got 2 microphones. We have another one from the judges. 3 minutes to pitch.
Reload.
Okay, so this is
Reload.
Reload.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Ready? Go.
Okay. Hi everyone. This is our crew, and we are Solar Sandbox. So the challenge we decided to pick was the Build a Planet one, which is essentially teaching kids how different characteristics of stars and their respective planets contribute to making a working and functional solar system. So we decided to choose this challenge as we each have a shared love and interest for physics and coding, which, as well as the capabilities and skill set required to carry out the task. Not only that, but the social impact that this would have is pretty good. So, we chose it for that.
The problem is that some children don't get enough opportunities to get into physics, and they may not find it exciting or fun to get into it because they don't have the right opportunities to get into it. Now, physics is not boring, but then it's because of the way maybe you get taught, the technique that is being taught to the child may affect the way they feel about it. So as you can see, this is based on GCSE's video, and there's not a lot of views. There's only 1,000 views, but then these are more popular, and there's a different technique of teaching. And yeah.
How many?
Yeah, so hi, my name's Amir, and I did market research. So what I did in market research was took about 10 children from ages 10 to 14 and asked them what they like about astronomy. And they said it was interesting, but teachers taught it in a boring way. And so, yeah, and I asked them, what do you like about it? They mentioned aliens, and and so we thought about, because they liked astronomy and they liked video games, so we came up with a solution, best solution in the world, and it was to, can anyone guess? It was to make a video game with astronomy.
Right, onto the technical side of it. I'd love to go over this more, but we don't really have much time. Essentially, I found three main equations that I would use that I would use and equate to each other to find a main equation. It's not on there; it's at the end. That the children in the app would use for the two variables of mass of sun and distance from the planet to the sun to whatever. Onto the next one.
Yeah, so this is the best solution. So basically we made a game that would work on mobile phones. So the idea of this game is, given the mass, radius, and all sorts of other factors of exoplanets and their host stars, students would learn and understand if that exoplanet is likely to exist. And if they think that it's likely to exist, they would press on this handy check mark. And if they got it right, then they would be rewarded by adding a planet to their collection. This is their collection. And if they got it wrong, then they would learn why, and it would explain why they got it wrong. This is the idea of gamification, which is proven to be a good strategy. So some of the future developments that we're thinking about include adding a currency system, which would add more gamification elements to the app. A social platform, which would allow fellow physics people to compete and collaborate. And to include in-lesson use, which would allow teachers to have questions on the board and students to answer in the lesson, which could be a fun lesson idea. Thanks for listening.
Questions?
So based on the current set of screens and pieces that you put together, can you talk of maybe one or two messages that somebody would actually learn from this game?
Yeah, so this microphone is louder. So an example would be that an exoplanet can't be too close to to its host star, or it would go to the host star. And if it is, then it would have to move very fast. So we're actually using a data set provided by NASA to figure this out. And I made a little machine learning program which would help with that. So that's on the GitHub.
Can you demonstrate it? Can you show it to?
Yeah, sure.
I'll bring the laptop.
I'd like to know what you think your strongest route to market is. You've obviously talked about having it used in lessons. Do you think it's going to be teachers pushing this onto their students, or do you hope that it will inspire young people to download the app themselves?
Yeah, so we wish that, teachers in schools so we want them to use this app. This website goes in an app. It's a website. And yeah, so we want to use, if they don't understand the stuff that they were taught in lesson, they can go back home and do this, or they can do it in lesson and go over it, and because it does help. And that's, yeah.
And a question just for me. How would you go about making changes and adapting the website going forward? What would be your plan?
So we would probably use continuous integration, continuous development ideas. So we would create a testing suite which allows the app to be tested, and then adding new features would be really easy, since every time we're confident that we know that the rest of the app isn't broken. And Google Play and Apple, so if we made this into an app, they both provide a testing environment. So we would test this with live with some friends before releasing new updates. And we would probably contact some, so I contacted my physics teacher with this, so probably contact her again, making sure that the changes are still scientifically valid. Any other questions?
I know you don't have your code in front of you right now. We're just quickly looking at it. Can you just walk through us high level how you came up with what you did?
Sure. So basically, I think the first bit of the code is basically I get some information from the NASA datasets about exoplanets, so confirmed exoplanets. And then I take, so basically loads of the variables that are there just have NA in them, which is kind of annoying. So that took me a long time to figure out how to fill those out and make the TensorFlow still works. TensorFlow breaks whenever you don't have one of the variables there. So I had to get that to work. And then after that, you make a feature layer, which basically is one of the layers in the machine learning sections, in the machine learning model, which basically uses each of the columns in order to find one missing column, which there, I think I put the orbiting radius. And then that could be a question asked to the students about, like, given these parameters, what's the orbiting radius? And then the machine learning program could provide a valid answer.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, but taking a look at the code, it's good. Just to let you know.
Yeah.
What's your commercial model? Like, is part of this paid for? Are some people paying, not other people paying? How do you anticipate funding yourself?
So commercial model. Well, in terms of like making money, I guess is what you mean.
And even before that, how are you funding your ongoing? So you're talking about ongoing development. How are you funding ongoing development?
We don't pay him. He just does the code. After that, if you want to make money and eventually pay him, we'd put, kind of in-app purchases, I guess, of being able to customize your planets a bit more so they've got better features and whatever. And possibly making a premium game for maybe older people for kind of making the difficulty and the equations and stuff a bit more difficult. But yeah, essentially some customizable things in the game would get us money. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? Perfect. Right. Okay, no, it's called bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is the word you were looking for. When you don't pay anyone and you just have to bootstrap. All right. Perfect. Well done. So next up, Plastic Ninjas. Welcome, welcome. Let me find your slides. So I am going to refresh because I know at the moment it's view only. So I hope you have given me access, otherwise you might have. Okay. Excellent. All right.
Oh, take it.
So 3 minutes. Let's try this.
Once I had a pet turtle and her name was Shelly. She was a really sweet thing. So basically one day I went to the beach and I saw a lot of turtles on the side and their heads were all covered in plastic. And I don't know, that just made me feel so helpless. And this is one of the main reasons.
However, the span of plastic pollution does not just range in killing turtles. It's also found in the deepest parts of the ocean, such as the Mariana Trench, where a recent study has been done and a plastic bag from a supermarket has been found.
Okay, so sharp plastics, when they're consumed by marine life, actually causes so blockages in their systems, so they can't actually eat and they eventually die of starvation. And up to 1 million people every year actually die of plastic ingestion.
So predators in the marine life, such as turtles like Shelly, they are affected by
plastic, and also ecosystems like ourselves were affected by it too. This is a graph showing plastic production from 2015, and there's been more plastic being made, so there's more waste in the ocean.
And as for our actual solution, we have a type of geocaching application. And what's different about it from geocaching is that it's not actually a treasure hunt. The app directly tells you where plastic waste is. So the users are going to be a dot on Google Maps, and they have a proximity sensor. And when they go to the location where there's plastic waste and they get it, they have to take a picture. So they press the button, and the machine learning module is going to recognize whether it's plastic or not, so that it can actually reward them for it through such as a gamification factor. And here you can actually see the machine learning module being used. So it's recognizing that the cartoon one is graphics and clip art instead of actual plastic. And then the actual plastic is recognizing that it's a plastic bottle and that they're water bottles. And the actual code is sourced from GitHub, from a thing called Google Cloud Vision, which is the machine learning module that recognizes that there's plastic. And the second one is the React Native map. So this is just like the map interface for the application.
So our target audience is mainly activists who like to go onto the beaches and clean up things, clean up plastic, as an example. But we're also trying to get casual people who want the plastic to be removed, but they're not ready to go to the beach and clean up. So trying to encourage them with the gamification of virtual rewards and stuff.
We used machine learning to detect if the plastic was actual plastic or not, and we will advertise the app using Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and also to contact influencers to see if they wanted to join the app.
And as for the actual team organization, we use Trello to allocate and set deadlines.
Awesome job. Could you just share more about the rewards that you mentioned and what those would look like when you start the app, and then maybe what ideally in the future, what rewards you would offer to people as an incentive to use the app?
So mainly the rewards will be a virtual currency, which in case we can buy you skins and other things, all virtual, so it doesn't have any cost to us. And we're also planning to have leaderboards, so you can compare it to people around the world or maybe just friends from things like Facebook and stuff. And hopefully that will also help promote it by saying, hey, I've gone so-and-so. So, yeah.
I saw on your Trello board that you had the narrowing down as one of your activities. Can you just talk us through how you narrowed it down to say that plastic was the answer?
Narrowing down what it actually means is we were narrowing down ideas because we initially had so many.
How did you do it?
The way in which we narrowed it down, we just did like a majority vote. So the idea which was most popular was a combination of the Mariana Trench idea, where we were going to explore the Mariana Trench and the rising sea level, and the common factor in which we saw between them was the plastic levels. So we just decided to explore the plastic levels as a compromise.
Question.
So I'm just wondering, how did you leverage NASA data? I know you talked about some of the other data and you displayed that, but I'm just curious if there was anything in particular that was useful from the challenge resources or data sets.
Yeah, so what I noticed was that NASA actually had geolocational imaging data for the actual geographical locations where plastic is. And I believe that we can use that data in order to actually source the incentive of the application itself for the users, because they're going to be looking for plastic and they want to convert it into digital points by giving it to recycling centers or the appropriate bins.
Sounds like you could also use that to figure out where to target the advertising and use of your app. So,
Any other questions? Do you have any code that you want to show to the judges?
Yes, can we have do recording, right?
I've actually sent you the 2 GitHub links, I think, by email.
If I were you, I would just open your laptop and give it to Mohan.
Yeah, that'll be easier.
Yeah, we've got 2 codes in here. Not my laptop, but you have to use your laptop because, yes. So show it to everybody. Do you have it on your laptop?
I need to go get it.
Okay. Fine. Okay, any other questions? I mean, what I will do is I'm going to probably ask the next team to start, and then they will just bring their laptop and you can check. Is that okay? Just so that we don't wait. All right. Well done, team.
Good job, guys. Thanks.
So next up, Inhabitable. I would imagine it's Team Habit, but correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. So I have to say this is the least slides I've ever seen in any hack, which is really impressive. So more pictures, less words. So let's do this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Last year, I was playing football and I scored. And when as I was celebrating, I looked in the sky and I saw shimmering stars and thinking about how beautiful it was. Next day, while I was playing with my friends, I was still thinking about it. I wanted to know more about it. So the next day, I went and researched online and read books about it. But I still wanted to learn more about it at school. About astronomy, so I went next day to my teacher, but she was unable to support me, and my friends were really frustrated with me and mocked me for it. And next day, while in the middle of the night, I looked through the window in the sky and saw the stars, and I decided to make a game app so people can learn about the solar system, the universe, and now I'm here.
So we created Habitat. Habitat is a unique, contemporary and fun game designed to educate young people who want to learn about the solar system. So people like Elon Musk think it's easy to colonize planets, but if we knew that 7 of our planets in our solar system had a mean temperature of -200 degrees, would we work harder to preserve the Earth, knowing it's all the life we have? Young people need to be educated in our solar system so that they can be inspired to appreciate the delicacy of our Earth and how we can look after it. We're going to enable this.
So we didn't actually have time to develop a full-blown app, but we have a prototype when it eventually goes.
Why? And this is why I asked you to record your demo. Exactly
Yeah.
why.
This is
the reason.
Okay. So it is. If you want to enter the game, you would see the sign-up page and the logo. And when you want to start the game, you press Let's Go. What they would see first is the animation of the rocket taking up into space, and then after that, they would see the actual start process of making their solar system.
So you'd have to select your planet. For example, if we select this one, it bases the information off data we've got from NASA, and this planet is based on Venus, for example.
In this, you would have quizzes to do quizzes that would ask what are the key features that your planet would need, and if you answer them correctly, you get points. And whoever had there'd be a leaderboard system, and whoever had the most points would be like at the glory of winning.
And the amount of points you get will enable you to make further customizations to your planet. So if you wanted to build like a lab on your planet to run experiments, that would cost you the points which you get from the quiz.
Okay, so
What are data types? Well, data types or variables are in the program, like username, password, etc. So, like for Amazon, for example, so like it uses your credit card details to buy things, and yeah. So, like, what's this got? You're like probably thinking, what's this got to do with what's there? Well, this app thing uses it uses statistics from the variables, and then like it shows you things. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, questions? Okay, you've got the microphone.
So what's if someone played your game, what is the take-home message that you want to give them?
So what we're trying to tell people is that you should preserve our Earth, because as you can see on the forget it. Basically on the game it said that Venus had 92 bars of pressure. So if people actually knew that, Elon Musk says we can easily conquer other planets, stuff like that. If they knew that standing on Venus was 92 times heavier than standing on Earth, I don't think people would think that it's easy to move to other planets. So therefore, they would try and preserve our planet.
As your first screen is a sign up, how are you going to incentivize people either to come to or to convince them of the value of signing up?
For example, the sign up, it would allow you to go multiplayer, so you can share a solar system, and you can compare the customization of your planets, and that would kind of give people an incentive to see how to improve their planet based on other people's ideas of what's a good planet, and that kind of would also help NASA in finding how they could kind of reach out to kids more to tell them more about how we should work to preserve Earth's state.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, perfect. So Gideon, you're looking at your code. Any questions at all on the technicalities? No, you're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, well done.
I have to say, Wenju, you have really impressed me. I know Wenju is very, very strong on all things graphic design, so my prototype really incredible. So, next team is Airlitical. Yes, it's Airlitical. Can you please make sure you have your code ready for the judges, all right? So that we don't have too much time. So we still haven't had the team that has really nailed it with 3 minutes. We're waiting for that incredible team that will go and get an incredible prize just for nailing 3 minutes. So, ready?
Okay, go.
Airlitical. Airlitical. This is Ella. She died when she was just 9 years old from a fatal asthma attack. She lived 25 metres away from the South Circular Road in London, and a 2018 report showed that her death was linked to the unlawful legal air limit. Every year, 4.6 million people die from causes directly attributable to air pollution.
From a survey that we conducted, we found out that 75% of the participants are very concerned about the air pollution affecting their health. So we introduced you Airlitical. This is a user-friendly, street-to-street air pollution data mapper. It also has a journey mapper. We also provide you with a open source data.
So how Airlitical works is based on awareness. Our main course of action is trying to get people engaged and talking about the problem, because there's not really any talk about how much pollution is in your one street. So how we did this? We did this by creating a website. So if you do want to look it up, it's airlitical.live, and we did this by doing an air pollution level map, which would have live readings of your streets and how much pollution is there by live readings. So we have some example code of how it will be done. We extract all our data from TFL, which we had to do through using RStudio. This is all then formatted in Python and put through a complex algorithm, which determines a number value which will grade each street.
So there are a lot of websites that do something similar, but the reasons that we are unique are because we are user-friendly. We are completely free. All of our data is open source, and we have what's called a journey planner. It's a bit like how Waze plans your journey according to traffic levels, but we plan walking journeys based on pollution levels in different streets and different areas of the city. And our business model. As we said before, we're free. We want all of the information on our website to be open to anyone to use. But if we were to make money off of our website, we would make it off of ad revenue and sponsors. And finally, our end vision. We want to expand out of London to the entire UK, then to the entire Europe, and then every major city in the entire world. So everyone has data for their city and can live happier, healthier lives.
All right, and your code to the technical judges, please. Let's respond to the questions from the judges. I'm sure there will be a few. Yeah.
Thank you. Probably wasn't confused. No, I have one question. So, have you seen any examples of how this has been applied? Because normally I wouldn't even think about the air level, air quality differences street to street. But I'd love to hear more about what you found.
So we found that there is a lot of data going through it. TfL publicly releases a lot of data, but it's all in very weird ways. It's not just in one simple number or indicator. It's in nitrous oxide, CO, carbon monoxide, and it's all very weirdly badly put in. Some companies do similar things, but they're all company-to-company basis. So they would market to other companies. Well, we're trying to give it to the people as they don't really have access to it.
We also provide it's a more user-friendly and simple solution. So we create a universal index for pollution. So with all these different levels of poisonous gases, we try and create a universal index which the users can more easily understand, which better represent the pollution levels near them.
So just a follow-up question to that, how do you plan to get people who maybe wouldn't even consider this to adopt your solution and use your website?
Well, we think that people will just look at the website and so become a bit more aware of the pollution around them, and then maybe plan journeys which are less polluted.
And it's mainly, we're going to try originally marketing with social media and try to start conversations about it.
What do you see as the most difficult technical challenge if you needed to scale this up?
The most difficult challenge would be to acquire more data, as we're very lucky in London. The TfL releases a lot of data, and it's already anyone can use. But the problem is that other data, there is some data from NASA we did analyse, but is normally from either a very short amount of time, or it's very over a large area. Well, we want to bring it down to a very small amount of level so people can see by street by street.
So I'm quite interested in the journey mapper. So I have a commute that has a walk to a train to either a bus or a subway, or I suppose I could walk it depending on where I am. So for me, part of that journey is completely fixed. You could say it was less pollution to go a different way, but it would be too time consuming. So how are you anticipating talking to users? Do you have a plan yet to find out what are parables that you can change in your mapper and what you can't?
Well, on our website, there is a function that we have on I think it's the last page, where you can give us your feedback. It'll be emailed to our company email, which we all have access to. And we were thinking of implementing, if we could, something again similar to how Waze has. Do you know how people can input different, if there's roadworks in a certain area or speed cameras, something like that. So, there's lots of foot traffic in this area. The idea is that it is quite similar to Waze in how the journeys are going to be planned. You have different routes, and you can pick one as convenient to you. It's most useful for walking journeys, although I think we could make it take into account trains and buses.
But you would also select a time period for how long. So if you were to take a longer walk, and you have less pollution, you can do it that way, or you can take the shortest route, but it may have more pollution than the longer one.
It just lays out all of your options.
And so in that kind of scenario where it's a multi-step journey, are you looking at them as single journeys, or would you split them up? Do you think which way do you think is more effective?
So it will be a lot more effective to do it by single journey, as it means that the whole route is processed at once. Well, if you're doing it separate ways, you're accounting for, for example, if you take the train and Google Maps tell you to go a different way, and while similar walking distance, some places on Tube have similar walking distance, which is more effective.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Oh.
Well done. Another question?
Yes.
One more
Can
question.
you talk me through what each member of your team did?
So I was the graphic designer, so I designed the website.
I helped with the pitch and the design.
I helped with the website, the PowerPoint, and I drew this logo.
And I did most of the coding and getting all the databases and stuff.
All right, and I believe it's the last pitch now. It's AI Stray.
Oh, he's not on this one.
Hey, I want to hear your...
Oh, okay.
You can take this one.
Hello.
Hi everyone, my name is TeensInAI. I'm here with my team to talk to you about a project we've been working on for the past 2 days called AI Stray. So, I want to talk a little bit about our team. Unfortunately, quite a lot of our team fell ill yesterday night, so a lot weren't able to make it. We were going to have someone come on a call, but unfortunately he was not able to make it either. So what problem are we actually tackling? As you can see from the statistics, a lot of data is lost every year, and in fact many different types of data is lost in many different ways. And this is a serious issue as it can imply many different things. So, what is a solution to such a problem? We have created an AI web app that lets clients retrieve their data and secure it properly. We use an algorithm that cycles through all this data, finds what's missing, and put it back where it needs to be. and we use solid encryption and great databases to ensure that it is all secure. I'd like to hand over to Stefan to talk a little bit about our web app.
Our web app is called AI Strength, and this is how it functions. First, you sign up and give us your data. We cycle all the data and send you the lost areas. And number 3, we send it to you via email.
Stefan, I'd like to hand over to our developers who will talk about what they were able to do.
So we only had about 2 hours today to do this because we just joined the team. So it's a bit messy. While it loads, so we decided to use NASA's meteorite landing data as a base, and what we did was they on purpose removed some of the data. So what we did was we analyzed the data, found what was missing, and then we decided to train an algorithm on it, and we decided to impute the data. So what does that mean?
So we used an experimental iterative imputer which calculates all the values for every feature instead of calculating the mean for only one feature. So as a control, we removed all the blank data from our original model and tested the model on it.
And then we tested our model on our own model on the imputed data, and we reached the conclusion that even though we didn't have much time, it did actually lead to an improvement. And if our algorithm was more accurate, we would have probably seen a better improvement.
Thank you all. Any questions? Any questions?
So, can I just ask you to repeat the problem statement, because it was on the slide, but you haven't quite articulated. So
which slide?
It was difficult to kind of watch you talk about it, and there was some data in the background. The very first slide that you just find. Yeah.
Okay,
so I want to hear it from you. What is the actual problem?
Well, the person we were going to have on a call, who one of the people who was ill, they were going to do this, but sadly the microphone doesn't work for this bit. So, as you can see, there's some data about how it's lost, and there's also more data. We don't want to crowd the screen about. Most industries do suffer from data loss, and it can lead to significant scientific and financial lack of information. So imagine if that black hole data where we actually managed to see a black hole, imagine if some of that got lost and then all of a sudden the algorithm doesn't work anymore. You're going to need to somehow approximate that, and that's what we were doing.
Another example we could think of is, imagine if an asteroid was heading towards Earth, and a third of the data about that asteroid, for example, its longitudinal data of where it was going to land, went missing. There could be casualties because of that. And this has more applications than just space. It has applications in finance, in medicine, and we're able to, because the algorithm is very general, it's able to apply to many different scenarios, and we're able to tailor it to each data set and what different clients want.
All right. Are you ready for questions, judges? Yes. I think it's a bit clearer what this is about.
So somehow, if I were a user, this would have to be quite a bit cheaper than making 3 copies and putting it in 3 parts of the world or something?
So the way our business model works, the market sector we're looking at is mainly groups and corporations and amalgamation of people rather than a single person. So instead of one person...
there are already methods to try and tackle this problem, but it's going to be quite not very cost effective for them to get their R&D departments to try and make something efficient, while we could do it, and we could also apply it to a range of different industries at once, rather than having each industry making their own thing, which has a different layout, and some of it might be less efficient.
Sorry, I think my question was, I could just physically copy the data and keep it elsewhere. So if this data was corrupt or some data got lost here, I would just pull it from there.
So you're suggesting to get rid of the corrupted data? And just use
He's asking why this is better than backing up your data and sending it to 3 locations, as most corporations do.
Well, in that process of backing up, you can have some data lost. So, for instance, with that black hole study where they actually got the image, they had to use very, very secure methods of transportation to get it all around the world into one place. And even then, some of it might have been corrupted, so they would have probably used a similar system to this to try and approximate it, which they would have had to work on and it would have wasted time. Does that answer the question? Okay.
In your research, what percentage of data crashes are partial data or one system out of a group of systems as opposed to being a complete data loss?
Well, when we were researching this, we found that generally it's like if there's some corruption of data or some sensors aren't picking up data, it's generally due to noise. So quite a few different systems might be affected from the same thing, and that can lead to a wider system failure. So by having this in place, you could tackle individual systems and they'll reduce the overall impact.
Have you thought about how you would manage trust in your system?
Yes. So before people sign up to our service, we basically have a little chat with them and we say, how do you want us to handle your data? And in each time they use our service, we tend to ask, before we send it back, how do you want us to, were you happy with how we handle your data? So we ask them, do you want us to do it this way? Do you want us to manage it in certain different ways? If they're not happy with some ways, we can sometimes avoid those ways if it's something that that our client wants.
And what about personal data as well? How would you handle that?
Personal data. So as we say, the personal data is kept very secure, and we always ask people if they want, and also if people are signing up to our client, basically, if our client's providing a service and people are signing up, people signing up to the service of the client would also have to agree that if they want their data to be processed in the ways that we want it to be processed. And even then also, we are extra cautious with the way we process personal data, and we always ask the client how they want it to be processed.
So, for instance, we might, in that chat with the client, we might ask them if there is any personal data, and we'll do our best to anonymize it, so to make sure that there isn't any leakage of data that might get someone in trouble for anything.
Any more? Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through the algorithm in the coding?
Not on my laptop. On your bring your laptop.
Use your laptop.
Do you want me to get my laptop?
Yes.
And also too, we'll ask the other teams whose coding we didn't look at to come back up at the end, yeah?
So I think Dennis is meant to show you the algorithm. Dennis, have you shown your laptop? Because Mohan and Gillian are actually going to study your code.
All right.
Okay, perfect. So, well, I don't know about you, but I'm really, really impressed with all the teams. So can we please have a round of applause to all the teams because it was quite an effort. So, well done to you all. I think you've done all phenomenally well. I mean, I deliberately do not go into any rooms and I don't know what anyone is working on. So, because I'm one of the judges and I don't want to be influenced, so I have to not know what they're doing. So I was really impressed by the level of the pitches and the code. So I want to actually now give a round of applause and thank you to all the mentors who are still in the room. So can you all get up? So all the mentors, so that I can see all the mentors. And the alumni mentor, Savannah, you can be. So I think the mentors have done incredibly well. We've had, yesterday we've had a design thinker per team. And for me, design thinking is an incredibly important process to go through. I can't emphasize it enough. I don't know what you thought of how the kind of empathy mapping and human-centered design, but all that was obviously your work. And also we've had some alumni who have been part of various accelerators and hackathons who have been able to help. So Azman, Rohan, Savannah, and all of them have been incredibly helpful. I would also like to say thank you to the organizers who, without them, this hackathon would not have happened. And they're all teenagers. So this is Ewan, who's sitting right in the back. So well done, Ewan. So the best, the award for product management, he really pulled it all off, was contacting all the mentors and teenagers and parents. And it takes quite a lot of time to actually put an event like this together because it's not just adults, it's safeguarding of all the young people that we have to take into account. So the team that were behind this wasn't just me, but it was Deshita who is there, just tweeting around and thinking, well, I'm not going to mention her. but it's Ewan as well, and quite a few people who haven't been able to come and join us, but they're all working in the background, managing Slack and everything else. I think that they've all done incredibly well. So I know we have a teacher here, the only one who really braved in, which is very rare, because teachers usually avoid this, but I'm hoping that Grace is going to take this whole experience into her school and run more of this, because she was really impressed by the design thinking piece. And we obviously have had, the business mentors, the hosts, Sophie, who have been phenomenal and getting up very early to just host us in here. Thank you very much. And my team, Andreas, who's been filming, and Marie, who's been, with the teams as well, and just making sure everything runs as and when it needs to be. So I think it was all done incredibly well, and I'm just really grateful that we've managed to put it all off together. So if the judges are ready, I'm going to take it away to deliberate and decide on what's going to... So I never really mentioned the prizes, because I am assuming everyone that participates in my events do not participate for prizes. So I never really tell you what you're going to get, quite deliberately, because I don't want that to be like a cutthroat competition. But just to let you know, so we are going to choose 2 teams that will be submitted into the finals. We will do this today. And you guys, 2 teams will have a chance, will have a whole week to create a 30-second pitch to submit it for the finals. All right. We also have a prize that has been kindly offered by Gillian from Barclays. So one of the teams is going to present at a future banking conference at Barclays, taking place on the 4th of November. All right. So we also have got on Fido that is offering some T-shirts and goodie bags. We have Quantum Black, who's offered to take one of the teams for the demo at Quantum Black, and McKinsey. Quantum Black is a McKinsey company. It's like DeepMind for Google. We've worked with Quantum Black a few times, and they're quite phenomenal. I know Matt has offered a prize just today. He would like to offer 1 team mentoring via Zoom, all the way from Washington, or potentially other places, I don't know. And with others. So we will choose 1 team, and depending on what expertise they need for the mentoring, it will happen. And I'm going to select 2 teenagers that I will take with me on Tuesday to Nesta, because Nesta has launched their Longitude Prize for AI for teenagers like you. I would absolutely like to encourage every single team to apply to that competition, because one of the challenges is, I believe, to do with pollution and climate change. And so I think you should all qualify and you should all apply. But 2 of the teenagers will come with me and join 6 others from the Accelerator program that we ran in the summer, and you will be part of a national campaign. So you will be on the film, on social media, and everywhere else. So that's a special prize from me. And obviously, we will have to give extra points to the team that actually nailed their 3-minute pitch, which was the last team. So well done. And I'm going to take the judges off now. I've asked Freddie to give us a favor, because I know there are lots of mentors in here, and I really wanted my team to film that incredible talk about how satellite data is used to detect human rights abuse. So Freddie, only if you are up for it and not too tired, you can do this. But
I don't know about you guys.
Do you want to hear it again? Yes. Yes? Okay. So Freddie, you can either do that talk or entertain the crowd in some other way. But it's all yours whilst I'm going to take the judges. And yes, do take photographs.
This is the face of the crowd that's about to hear the same talk on the same day twice. That's never been done before in my career.
Well, we unfortunately just couldn't record the talk, and I thought that was the most phenomenal talk, and I just so want this to be captured. All right, I'm going to leave you with Freddie.
Okay.
All right. No problem. Yeah.
So just for the teams whose code review are pending, can you please come with us? We'll take a look at that. Yeah. So I think it's teams 1, 2, and 4, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
This is a good time to take photos and not. You want to? You might want to.